John Sanchez. Welcome to the On-Ramp to Success podcast. Our guest this week is Veronica Lane. She's a project management professional. She's a graduate of Florida A&M University, and she's worked as a client-facing professional project manager and business executive for Fortune 500 companies for over 25 years. In her previous role as a PMO vice president, she managed business relationships and high-profile initiatives in Eurasia, the Philippines, Canada, and the United States. Now, after she left the corporate world, she established Project Manager Guru, Inc., third-party project management training company providing a wide spectrum of training services. She has worked for clients as varied as the Department of Homeland Security, the United States Navy, Michigan State University, Oral Roberts University, just to name a few. Now she travels the country speaking to corporations and entrepreneurs to advance their project management strategies through on-site and virtual consultations and Veronica Lane Consulting Project Manager Prism online course. She has a wealth of experience, and it was a great conversation that myself and my partner in crime, Steve Karski, had with her. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. Enjoy.
It's so funny because I got into project management because I didn't want to manage people anymore. You know, like we have a tendency to call it accidental project manager. So you know, I was told that, you know, I would love you to do this, and then it got to the point where I wasn't doing what I was hired to do anymore, and I was just primarily doing projects. So I actually come from the finance world, and I was there for, I am going to stop at this number because I feel comfortable doing that. I'm going to stop at 25. So we'll just say
What area
about 25 years.
What kind of finance work did you do?
Mortgages and credit cards,
Okay.
and taxes and insurance and all of that.
Okay.
All of that. And so I said I would rather retire doing this than anything else. And then it got to the point where I said, well, you know what? Let's kick it up a notch. I don't actually want to run projects anymore. I just want to teach other people how to do it, right? And so that's where Project Manager Guru came into play. So I, of course, have all of my certifications, even Six Sigma, which a lot of people don't talk about anymore.
Are you a black belt?
All the above, all the above. And so then I said, well, I'm just going to do that. But based on what I found, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't know how to get the butts in the seat.
Oh,
like,
okay. Just that
like
part of
you
it.
stated. Mm-hmm. So that was when I said, well, you know what? I'll just teach other people stuff. And that's actually how we came to meet, because I said, well, fine, I'll just teach other people stuff. I won't say that I'm transitioning away from that, but I am more on the Project Management Institute side of things than on the just kind of winging it based upon what I know side of things. So I, of course,
Okay.
have those certs. And I actually just did a keynote for Chicagoland a couple of weekends ago. So that was
Nice.
fun. It would have been even more fantastic if I was on a stage. Can you imagine me running across the stage like, oh, hello.
How big is that?
It's cool.
How big of an event is that? Like, how many people usually?
There, if it's in person, well over 1,000 people. Well over 1,000. And since it wasn't in person, then it's even more. even more. So we did a Zoom-ish type of a thing, and I was able to participate that way. The pay was the same, so
Ooh.
that
That's
was
nice.
wonderful.
Well,
That
that's
was
not too
wonderful.
shabby.
Not at all. But I'm focusing more on that. So as far as what I'm looking at in the future, I guess I could call it that, is for me to actually do the PMP certification courses.
The
So
prep
that I
courses for
can do
people that are
something like
going to take the exam, you mean?
that. Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you're going to continue speaking? Is that part of your plan too?
Yes, I'm getting my teeth done. I got to. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I am truly that nerd. I remember John was saying, like, when I was doing all that traveling, and he would look at my Instagram, be like, how are you stopping? How are you seeing all this stuff? What in the world? And I'm like, I'm pulling over. I will get to the hotel when I get to the hotel, but I'm pulling over because there was buffalo. I've never seen a real live buffalo, so
You know,
they're fun.
I wish I would have taken that lesson from people while I was still doing all that traveling, because Gideon did the same thing. Gideon did a good job of stopping and smelling the roses, and I felt like I was just in a rush to get everything packed up and get to the next city and get settled in the hotel so I could get a bite to eat and, get to bed. And then I see all these people posting pictures going, I'm not doing this right. I gotta milk this a little bit more.
Oh my goodness. When I had ridden into Chicago, it was at night, right? So I'm driving into Chicago. When I tell you, it looked like the Emerald City. I said, this is what people say New York should look like. Come in. It was like, ah. I said, oh
Wow.
my gosh, this is the best in the history of ever. And so I'm that type of person who really lives in the moment. I'm a very much a in the moment type of person. So whatever I can see while I'm out and about, I'm one that's going to pull off the road and soak in the sights.
Well, so you're doing, if I understood you correctly, are you doing a lot more work now where the Project Management Institute is hiring you to do these classes?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there are different chapters, right? So so the Project Management Institute is global. Global. So I have more people getting in contact with me through the institute than I do in any other way. But I am also very focused in on my community, which is what I started doing prior to COVID going crazy. I was doing more things like in your city. Do you have like a startup week type of a thing?
Startup week.
Like a tech startup week. I call it tech, but I'm sure it could be
There
any
are
type of
all
thing.
kinds of conferences going on. I'm
Yeah.
sure there must be something like that.
Yeah, probably. I'm not
familiar
plugged
with it.
into it, but I would guess there's probably something like that.
Well,
I need to get out more.
yeah, if there is, and I'm confident you can probably find something on LinkedIn, but they still had their startup week and it was virtual. Like for the past 2 years, it's been in person and it's free, because they just want to build up the economy in the particular city. So if you have all these startups and whatnot, and if accounting is your jam, these new businesses need that.
Right.
And they don't even know what it is that they need yet, but now you're there. I'm like, yeah, so I heard you're starting a business because you're at the startup week. See, it's like a fishbowl.
Sounds like we need to look that up, Steve.
I think
Since we're both in Charlotte.
Mhm.
What part of Florida are you in again? Are you in the Tampa area? Tampa.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure if you were in like one of the suburbs there. Okay.
I am in Tampa, and there's just so much going on. There's so much going on, and I admit where I get most of my business is from LinkedIn. And
Interesting.
and actually that was how the Project Management Institute got in contact with me for the keynote. I didn't reach out to them. I received a message on my LinkedIn, said we would love for you to do our keynote.
So
Was it
let's
me?
let's talk about this a little more, because I think for the people that would probably be listening to this, I
Mhm,
think this would be really valuable. So
mhm,
I've had over the years people find me on LinkedIn, but I would not say that LinkedIn has been like my bread and butter by any means.
mhm,
What is it about your LinkedIn profile that
mhm.
you think is attracting people to want to hire you versus all the other project manager trainers out there? There's got to be something that's making them pick you.
Well, it's very much like the ramp that you were talking about. But when I post and do things on my social, that's my focus, right? So for the different hashtags that I might use, it is tied to what you just said, right? What is my purpose? So I could be thinking to myself, well, I know that I'm not like everybody else. I'm not. I could be very much over the top. If I'm in person, I really have to pay attention to the body language of the people that I'm teaching, find out whether or not I'm too like this and they're like this, right? So I have to switch up, but I don't have to do that on LinkedIn because my tribe is looking for this.
So you're just being more
Yeah.
authentic and naturally attracting the people that resonates with, instead of trying to figure out what is going to please whoever.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very full on me, which is something that took time for me to be comfortable doing because I'm so used to morphing into whatever is needed in that moment.
Yeah.
So then I had to think to myself, well, who am I really? And since this is my business, which is totally different than when you're working with or working for somebody else, where you're trying to mold into whatever paradigm you're attempting to project. I'm not doing that, but I still need to make sure that I have the right people in my corner to assist me with that. So guys, I did a search for people who were authentically themselves and excelling in what they do. A lot of those people have their own little classes. Yes,
Their
they
own what?
do. Their own classes. Just
How,
about being your authentic self and being comfortable in doing that, right? So when we start businesses, we have a tendency to start with our business plan, right?
Yep.
But actually, we need to start with ramp,
mhm.
not the business plan, right? Who am I? What do I love doing? Why do I love it? It's as if it is sales 101, right?
Yeah.
What do I like? How am I? And how do I want to show up in the world? Right. So when I was doing all of that training, I don't know if you saw the post that I put out a year or so ago, where I was in New York. I went to go and eat. Someone took me to Chick-fil-A, walking, and I said, "Oh my goodness, is that Macy's? Is that Macy's?" They're like, "Yeah, that's Macy's." I said, "Is that where they do that main show with all of the dancers?" I said, "Is it right there?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's right there." I said, "Can you hold my phone? Can you record this? I need to dance there. I need to dance and sing where they dance and sing. And there are those that are like, oh, like my mother, for example, she has said, I could never do that. I don't even know where you came from. I was like, but Mom, what other opportunity would I have to do that? Hold my phone, right? So but then I had to say to myself, am I comfortable being me? Because not everyone's going to like that. Am I okay with not just casting out my net and pulling back whatever comes?
Right.
Am I doing the red velvet rope? See, I am more of a red velvet rope. I'm more VIP. If you want to be on this side of things, this is what's over there. You need to make sure that this is where you want to be.
So I'm curious, the way you're describing this, it almost makes me wonder, was there a time before you started this where you were just trying to give everyone what they wanted and then you said, no, I'm just going to do me?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you feel like prompted you to say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going to be me?
It was when I was running projects, and I was, okay, so in the project world, if we're doing traditional, then there is someone who I don't report to, but it's their project, right? And so we would call them the executive sponsor. So I'm talking to my executive sponsor, trying to get all the requirements. I'm I'm being nice, and I'm like, and I believe that we should do this and this and this and this. And he was typing at the time. He was typing, but we were still engaging, and I'm thinking the meeting went great. So I get out of this meeting, and my boss sends me, because I'm going to age myself. My boss sends me a same time. Do you remember same time on Lotus Notes?
I do. Yep.
No, that's. I remember Lotus Notes though.
Yes. So
corporate America. Yes, I remember that.
That platform had a instant messaging. So my boss calls me into her office, and she reads me an email that executive sponsor wrote and said, I don't believe that Veronica is the right person for my project. I think that she blah blah blah. It was just like, I don't think she is the right one. Now, mind you, he was typing this
while you were sitting.
while I was sitting in there.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And I'm thinking that I'm giving. I'm trying to understand what your needs are. I want to make sure that I provide you everything so that your project is the way that you want it to be. And he's saying, oh my goodness, I think she sucks and I don't want this. So I said to the boss at that time, I said, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I also knew that she was trying to break me down too. I'm not the one. She was attempting to do that too. And I said, nope.
He being your boss, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness. So are all of these people trying to kill my shine? Not today. Not today. Jesus, take the wheel. Not today. So I said to her, thank you so much for that. It was what I needed. Now I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do and what I think should be done. And I'm not going to ask for anyone's opinion. I might have inserted an expletive or two.
To be real.
To the point that she shut the door. But I said, okay, you got me. You got me. And what was interesting though, was that after that, like literally the month after that, when I said, bump all of y'all, I'm doing what I think needs to be done for all these projects, I got project manager of the month.
Wow.
And so I said, wait a minute. So when I'm nice, y'all bash me. When I act like a not nice, see, did you see that?
That's
When
awesome.
I act like a not nice, I get awards.
Huh.
Interesting. Funny how that works. And so now I say, you know what? This is it. This is this is my time on this big blue marble. I'm going to make sure that I am authentically me while I'm here. Will I disrespect others? Absolutely not. That is not my chip. I won't do that. But will I allow others to try to change me, and then I could potentially lose business because I'm not myself and I try to be what I think you want me to be? Nope, shop's closed. Not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Did you feel like that just sounds like, as I'm listening to you walk through this, like that, I think I would have been scared to death to do that in any of the jobs that I had.
Mm.
What was it, just having had enough, or what do you think, or do you just not, did you just not get that fear feeling?
I don't have a fear feeling.
Okay.
So I really think that's just how I'm made up. I like if I were to take it back to being a kid, I was the one who would stand up for the person who was being bullied.
Okay.
I would stand and like I literally have done this. I've stood in front and I said, hit me. And they're like, but we don't have any problems with you, Veronica. I said, oh yes, you do.
You do now.
Yes, you do.
Where do you think that comes from? That sounds like you feel like you're like wired that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That is how I'm wired. And in fact, if you were to ever speak to my mother, she would say, "Yeah, I remember when you were in the front yard and you're fighting in the front yard." And she was like, "I don't think that you knew how little you were. I don't I don't think you knew just how teeny I was. I was little. I was skinny. I was." And she said, "I don't think you were aware of any of those things, but I have always been the one who will stand up for other people, right?" And that's actually how I decided that I was going to have this business, you know, because I know what it's like to think that you're doing your projects well and then have other people say no you're not, because they actually think that that boss knows what a project is supposed to look like. They
Mhm.
actually think that that boss knows what excellent project management looks like, and they don't.
Mm.
And I just want them to be in their full selves and be like, okay, first you need to do this and this, and no one's going to tell you that you need to do these things, but if you don't, your project could fail. Well, I didn't know that, Veronica. I said, I know. That's why I'm here, because I'm telling you all of these different things that no one tells you. No one tells you.
So if there was one or two things about the way you do what you do that's different,
Mhm,
I can get a little of it from your social media,
mhm,
but project management to someone who's not a project manager, like me, I'm not a
mhm.
project manager.
Yet
How,
you run projects.
yeah,
That
and that's
that
actually a follow.
that's the thing.
That's a follow. I want to get into lessons from project management that non-project managers can use, because I think there's a bunch of stuff that's probably universal from project management that we could all kind of use.
Mhm.
But what I'm trying to get at is, what are the things that are uniquely you that are baked into your project management style that is noticeable to other people that makes them go, that's the tribe I want to be a part of? How would you describe that?
I genuinely love what I do. And I I truly believe that that comes out when I talk about it, right? I don't have a Eeyore feeling when I'm talking about it. Like, yeah, we have some projects. And when our project first started, they said it was going to be 6 months, and they changed it on us. I don't know how we're going to do it, but it's due in a month. What do y'all think? Now, if I were to do that, they would be like, oh my God, I have no idea how we're going to do it, Veronica. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? But what I say is, game on. Did you know that it was 6 months and now it's a month? You're not going to punk me, and you're not going to punk my team either. I know that this is something that we can do. I know that, right? I know that I have all of the skills to make that happen. I know that. Whether I know it today, I can research it. If somebody knows it, why shouldn't I? If it exists anywhere in the world, there's no reason why I can't have it, right?
Somebody
So,
else can do it or can figure it out, then certainly you can.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I can say, and since I'm retired now, I can say that I've never had a project fail ever. And so it's never going to happen because I'm retired. But it is the energy that I give, and the fact that I really believe in the people who are on my team. I tell them that you were chosen for my team. And just that by itself feels different than if you happenstance you're on my team, but you were chosen for this. There's a particular skill set that you have, and I need you to know that I've never failed. So if you're on my team, you need to elevate your game, because I'm going to hold you to it, right?
You set
And
the expectation
of greatness, right? Because if you let somebody know that you don't believe in them, I promise you they will prove it. But if I say that, even when I'm teaching, right, I let them know that you're excellent. And then I actually ask them, like I start things off this way. I said, I believe that you're absolutely excellent. Who in here thinks that I'm crazy, and how dare you say that I'm excellent when you just met me? If that's you, raise your hand. And I get hands raised. Like,
I was going to ask, what if I'm a weenie and I go,
yeah, but like, I have no idea why you would say that. You can't say that. We're not even 5 minutes into the class. How in the world? And then I tell them, I've trained thousands of classes. The only people who come are people who know that they can be better. The only people who show up, I said, think about this. Who do you know in the workspace who said, I heard that you were going to that class. Can you take some notes for me? And they're like, well, me, you know. And I said, are you the note taker for the business? Is this for you? Are you trying to be better, or are you taking dictation? Well, now that you put it that way, Veronica, I'm doing it for me. I said, okay, well, if you're doing it for you, you must think that you're pretty great to do that, right? Well, now that you, maybe, yeah, I already know, because people who come to trainings aren't coming because they ain't got nothing else to do. They got something else to do.
was this kind of mindset, do you think for you it was intuitive, or is this something, because I'm hearing like a lot of eternal optimists, like you're planting these seeds that if a psychologist talked to you, they'd probably say, oh, what you're doing is, there's probably somebody who studied it and said that's the way to do it. But was it just intuitive to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because but this also goes back to what we talked about previously, though, right? I live in the moment. I'm always reading. And when I say I am always reading, it doesn't mean that I'm always picking up a book. I'm just going to be honest about it. But I am always trying to figure out what I don't know. And I don't want to make all of the mistakes. I only have one life. So if other people have said, I've experienced XYZ, and you can probably focus in on this and look at this, and they've written things, you know, those are the things that stick with me. But I am also I have a photographic memory.
Oh, you
So
cheater.
it is
That's so unfair.
truth. No
Good for
lies
you.
detected. So whenever I look at something, if it's a word, then I've read it. If I see something, then it stays with me. My ex's best friend used to say, it's as if you can pull a receipt out of your ear. Why do you remember all this stuff? And I said, I don't remember everything, but I have a tendency to remember what you don't. That's the only difference.
So let me go back to your class for just a second, Veronica.
Sure.
If one of your classmates, you know, and especially that person that raised their hand that doesn't think they're excellent,
Mm-hmm.
says to you, so how do I become successful like you? What kind of advice would you give somebody in your class, maybe a new person to project management, could just be a friend of yours? What kind of advice would you share?
I would tell them to remain curious and to remember what it feels like when you got your first job. I said, you know what? You remember how excited you were when you said, I got a job. I got a job, and you can go to bed early. You might lay out your clothes the night before. You know, you're like, oh my goodness, I get to do this. When you say that you get to do it, right? You are also paying. My next one, this pop. Okay, so now I can open my mouth. Now I can do that. So when you first start to work and you get to do it, kind of like that new hire that annoys you, right? They're like always smiling, you know, and they're like, oh my gosh, hi.
Eager.
Like, hi, how are you? I'm in da 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 da, and I do this and this and this, and you're like, oh my sweet Jesus, can you go and sit? I'm going to talk to you in 6 months. And
That's right.
and if you're really this way, then maybe we will be like this, right? But in the beginning, you have that excitement, and you're asking questions, and you're trying to learn, and you're trying to figure out where you fit. But over time, you lose it. You're like, you know what? I have to go to this meeting, and I don't even think I should be there. And I hate all of these people, every last one of them. But I can't say it unless you're Veronica. And then you're like, oh my gosh, how? But see, when I was in meetings, it was a game for me. It was more of a playtime. Literally everything that we experience isn't real. None of it. All of it is make believe. See, when I was in college, I was an economics major. So I know all about the money, all about the money. I know that money's made up. And now it is even more made up because no one's even touching it anymore. It is a figment, right? So if none of it's real, how come I can't have a good time? If none of it's real, how come I can't be authentically me? And why shouldn't I say that I'm great? Why why shouldn't I say that I'm great? I had run a conference calls, right? This is prior to people feeling comfortable with being on camera. So we only did conference calls. That's it. And they would always have that awkward moment, right? When people are logging in, beep, 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 who just joined, you know, who just joined. Oh, it's Sally. Hi, Sally. How are you today? And then they say, well, how are you doing, Veronica? And I would say, I'm fantastic. Every single time. I'm fantastic. And then that same boss that I was talking about before, she called me into her office. And she said, so a lot of the executive sponsors don't want you to say that you're fantastic anymore.
What?
Because
That's bizarre.
I wish I made up anything.
That sounds like a Dilbert cartoon.
You aren't allowed to say that anymore because the executive sponsors say that there's no way that anyone can be fantastic every day. So you're not being real, so you can't say that anymore. And I said, all right, game on. So I go to my next meeting. So how are you doing today, Veronica? And I said, Veronica, how are you doing today? And I said, well, you know what? One of y'all's bosses said that I can't say fantastic anymore. It doesn't mean that I'm not fantastic, but I'm not allowed. So if you want to say it on my behalf, you go right ahead. But one of your bosses are kind of crotchety, and I'm not allowed to say it anymore. You can't steal my shine. This is it. And everything literally comes from the inside. But what I'm finding, Steve, to what you were saying, it's as if people need permission, right? It's as if so many people are living through that imposter syndrome, right? Like, you know what? I'm not good enough. Well, why the heck not? And then I asked them, okay, well, who's the smartest person that you know? Who's the smartest person that you know? And just yesterday, I had people in chat naming other people. And I said, I need to understand, why did you name somebody else? Well, because I do things wrong and I'm not perfect. I said, I didn't ask you to be perfect. I would much rather you be excellent, right? So you're paying attention to your journey. I want you to do that. But no one knows what you've experienced to get to this place. No one knows what you had to overcome to get here. Don't you think that's great? Well,
You are triggering what I will refer to as a matrix moment for me. You guys have both seen The Matrix?
Another movie reference. Yes, sir.
I'm full of movie references, right? Yeah, there you go. I heard a guy talking in it was in a training. A guy was doing a training, and he was talking about the movie The Matrix, and he said that at the end of the training, that what I'm trying to get you all to realize is that you're the one. You're all the one. You just haven't figured it out yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting that kind of feeling of from what you're saying. That's kind of your message to people, like wake up, man. Like, mm-hmm. Stop selling yourself short.
Now, I'll be real about it. It doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that a tear has never hit my cheek, right? But just like I would tell people on my team and tell them to come into my office, shut the door, you have a solid 5 minutes. Yell, cry, whatever you need to do, get it all out in that 5 minutes. And once you're finished, you need to keep it pushing. We have stuff to do, right? So I don't want people to not have the emotion, recognize it, but if you don't do something with it, it's never going away. So you got to push on through it and then do what you need to do. Keep it pushing.
When I went to take a note a minute ago, I realized I asked earlier, Gideon obviously couldn't make it to join us today. So I asked him earlier if he had any questions that he would like to ask you, if if he was able to be here. So I wrote down a couple of questions that he wanted to ask you. So I'm going to just fire away with these.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one is, what tools or apps can trainers and coaches use to boost their business?
Right.
Because he was talking about how he thought you were like really, especially like with social, you were really good at using the stuff that's available.
All right. Okay. It depends on what you're wanting to do, right? So remember I had said we were like, you need to know what your pillar is, right? You know, what kind of like the whole Chick-fil-A type of a feeling. Doesn't matter where I go in the country, when I go to Chick-fil-A, I know this is what I'm going to get, right? So I would say the exact same thing tied to what apps work well for you, right? So if you are a meme type of a person, right? In fact, I will look at my phone because I have most things on my phone. Okay. Oh, actually, let me back up further. Are you guys Apple people? Are you Apple people?
I'm Apple. Steve, you're Android?
I'm an Android, yeah.
So we got one of each.
Android. Okay. So I don't know, only because I used to work for Apple, I kind of know more about Apple. But one of the things, if he is a Apple person, because I'm sure Android does it, I just don't know where, is to actually set your socials to be on for only a limited hour. Like set your app limits. Because if you're not a producer, then you're a consumer.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So if you spend the majority of your time paying attention to what other people are posting and what other people are doing, then you're not being authentically you. Right? So I just wanted to put that into the mix. So
Good
let's
tip.
just
Can I
say
ask you a follow-up to that? So
Yes, please.
how many hours do you find work for you?
2.
2 hours a day?
For all of social for the whole day?
All of my socials, 2.
So that tells me that you're very efficient because you're active in social. It's not like you're spending that 2 hours just consuming. You're producing.
So the next piece would be later.com.
Later.com. Okay, tell us about that. What do you use?
later.com. It's a
Sounds like a
scheduler.
procrastination site.
Right. Well, it is
scheduling
of your socials. Right?
Oh, okay.
So what you can do, like let's just say it's a Sunday and you already know what all of your pillars are, you know, because it's very much since you're content creators and no longer consumers, you are going to think to yourself, well, what do I want people to be talking about me in the next week or two, in the next month, right? So put together what your content calendar is. And then for a week, create the content. And with that scheduler, like with later.com, you can put your pictures in, you can put your commentary in, and that's a big deal because when you're just typing it into your thing, the formatting is jacked.
Yeah.
But on later.com, you can put spaces, you can put different paragraphs, you know, you can do all of those things. Now that doesn't work on LinkedIn, but you can put all of your content there and then it is formatted the way that you would like it to be. And then you just cut and paste it into any of the platforms that later.com doesn't carry.
Okay.
So that's, I'm really just talking about the heavy hitters.
Okay.
I would also say you can use Trello.com. Not Trello, well, it is. It's Trello, Trello,
Trello.
and
Oh,
mhm.
okay.
and so what you can do is put together what your content calendar is, and then move it, to your completed column so that you know that you've gotten that done. It kind of helps organize, what it is that you want
I've
to be
tried that in the past, and what I liked a lot about that is how visual it is.
doing.
I'm a very visual learner, visual person.
Uh,
Um,
let's say that you want to make memes, right? So you can either use, because it depends on what you want it to look like. You can use, where are you? I think it's word swag. That is one. And you could also use typorama.
Never heard of either of those.
And you can basically put whatever you want. I've started using Canva because there's an app for your socials for Canva. So I started using that. I'm still trying to figure out if I like it or not.
Okay. I've
But
used Canva, but I didn't know they had a.
there's an app.
Okay.
hmm Yeah.
Okay.
So I am partial to those first two.
So do the first two, for example, later.com, does that reformat the picture and everything to each of the sites?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can
Oh,
Because
that's
that's
a
one of the
set it up the way that.
concerns with pictures and things.
Well,
yeah.
and Typorama does it, and so does WordSwag.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Let me ask the other Gideon question so I don't forget it. He just had
Okay.
two for us. So he wanted one that was more like that one, a little more like professional, that would be kind of useful information. This one's just a little bit more kind of fun. So if one of your peers visited you in your hometown where you are,
Mhm.
where would you take them and why?
Where would I take them? I would take them. Okay. Is it a friend or a business friend?
Let's say me, Steve, and Gideon all came to town for a
Um,
conference we were going to teach something at or speak at. We
okay.
said, hey, let's go somewhere. Where should we go?
I would definitely take you to St. Pete,
Okay.
and I would take you to the Sundial district. In St. Pete, it's there are a lot of things that are outside, right?
Mhm.
And so, especially at night, you have all these bistros, you have the water, you have the museums, and in St. Pete, the nightlife happens, but not like nightclubby. Like it's very adult, right? But it just feels good. It really, it's pretty awesome.
Cool. Sounds like fun.
Sounds good.
Do you have any other questions, Steve? I'm looking at the clock and I want to respect your time.
No, I think we've covered a lot of great stuff.
So
I'll
let me ask
you take. Go ahead.
a couple of kind of wrap up questions then. So you mentioned earlier that you're always reading, and then you said, okay, maybe not reading. So I'm assuming that you're consuming other things. So tell us what other ways, like audiobooks, podcasts, what are the other ways that you're feeding your brain?
Okay. It is actually YouTube.
Okay.
I love YouTube. Pretty much and anything that you can think of, you
What are
can
the
find it there.
what are the coolest subscriptions channels you subscribe to? The ones that you think are the coolest, not that everybody else says are cool.
Yeah, because I'm a nerd.
That you're willing to share. We don't want to know any secret ones that would embarrass you.
Yeah, understood. Well, and it's funny you would say it. So let's see, because I'll just tap on my subscriptions. Okay, so there is Think Media. I like him. There is Speaking Lifestyle. I like that. Every once in a while, I'll look at Mind Over Munch.
Mind over munch, like munchy food, munchies.
Yeah, because I'm trying to do better, y'all. I'm trying to do better. And I also like I'm really focusing in on what I look at a lot. And I just added one. Where are you? I do look at the TED Talks, and there's also, because I don't know how he pronounces his last name, so I'll just spell it. It's Stratevert. First name is Kevin. He used to work for Microsoft, and then he quit because he was making more teaching people about Microsoft on his YouTube.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
But he also said that, don't think I'm crazy. My wife still works at Microsoft.
It's got a little balance going on.
little balance. But yeah.
I'm glad I asked that because those are all new ones to me. Well, TED Talks I've heard of, but I've got to check those out. And I like too that they're it's like a little smattering of some professional, some kind of fun, some personal stuff.
And
Right.
and one of the things that I really recommend, and because we might be near to the same age range, how we look things up is different than how people look things up now. So they use all their hashtags in their socials to look things up, right? So I would recommend, if there are people on your socials that you follow, right? Go to their page, click on their following button, see if they have hashtags that they follow, tap on that,
Oh, that's a great tip.
and then look and see if there are any hashtags that they follow that maybe you should follow too, so that you can get more content. And also, I also believe in taking a good 15 minutes per day commenting on someone else's post, but not just a like, at least 4 words long, right? Because you also want to focus in on what the algorithm's doing.
Okay.
Okay. And if you haven't watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix,
I have not.
that might be what you choose to do this evening.
Netflix. All right.
Social Dilemma. Because the main people who are actually talking worked for the major social internet giants.
Oh, is it a documentary about all the psychological research they did before? Okay. Yeah. I think I'm going to circle that.
Yeah. Well, because, and the reason why I found it important is because there are reasons why we do what we do. And since we're in business, we need to know how that translates into the other pieces. Basically, what Gideon was asking, like how can I grow? What are we looking at? and knowing what all the behind the scenes things are will actually help you in figuring out what type of content you're going to put out there.
Have you written books?
There is a book. You are able to purchase it on Amazon and Books A Million and
What's the name of it?
Barnes and Noble. It's Beyond the Certification,
Okay.
and it truly talks about that, right? So there are things that you learn because you took a test or you're about to. But once you've taken your test, the expectation is that you can execute. And
Right.
there are so many things that we need to know that have nothing to do with that test.
Yep. Sounds
So-
like licensing for insurance that I went through many years
Or
ago.
even college, you get to your first job and they're like, all right, kid, you don't know
Maybe in
anything.
college.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. How,
Excellent.
I know you're very active in social. What is the best way if people want to find your content and they want to connect with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Okay. I will give options. And the reason why I want to give options, because it depends on what you want to see from me.
Okay.
So if you want the more fun side of me, then you would actually go to Instagram, and that is Veronica _Lane _consulting _LLC. And you would be able to find me there. It's this face. I like this face. If you're looking for more of the businessy side of things, and that would definitely be LinkedIn, and you just want to pull up my name in the search. So
Okay.
Veronica Lane, but look for the one with the microphone. Then
Okay.
you'll know it's me.
Okay. We'll put this in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have all this typed out so people can find it easily. One last question, and then anything else that you want to share, feel free. But we touched on earlier about how project management has a lot of concepts that are universal.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just pick one or two that you think people could put to use and get a lot of value out of, what would those be?
I would say to realize that all project managers do is fix things through other people. It's a way of thinking. That is it. So the only thing that we do is fix things. I am more of a maestro to an orchestra. I don't play the violin, but I know when they should come in. That's
I
it.
love that. That is a great metaphor.
It is.
And that is a great way to end.